You don't wait for power, you claim it. You don't whisper your worth. You walk into a room and your energy speaks before you do. The power pose is not just body language, it's a whole frequency. It's how you shift the atmosphere without saying a word. It's how you let the world know that you've arrived. Not because you begged for a seat at the table, but because you brought your own throne. You walk tall because you've decided that shrinking isn't your story. You stand wide because you're not here to fit into anybody's tiny box of who they think you should be. You raise that chin because you've tasted what it feels like to doubt yourself, and you're never going back. Every inch of your stance is coated with self-worth. This isn't just posture, it's prophecy. Power is not something you wait for, stumble upon, or hope someone hands to you. It's something you claim with intention. From the moment you decide you are no longer shrinking, no longer dimming, no longer hiding, you're stepping into a new dimension of self-respect. Claiming power is a radical act of self-trust. It's the moment you stop looking for outside approval and start listening to your own inner authority. Too often we're taught to wait until we're qualified. Wait until someone validates us. Wait until the timing feels perfect. But power doesn't live in waiting rooms. It lives in action. It's born in the quiet decision to rise, to lead, to walk in alignment even when your voice trembles and the ground feels shaky. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck isn't talent, it's permission. Most people are waiting for someone to tell them they're ready, but the ones who rise know that readiness is self-declared. You don't need credentials to know your worth. You don't need applause to walk like you matter. You just need to own the fact that who you are right now is powerful. You claiming that isn't arrogance, it's truth. And the more you honor that truth, the more magnetic you become. Because people don't follow perfection, they follow energy. They follow certainty. They follow those who are unapologetically themselves. When you claim your power, everything shifts. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've remembered. Power has always lived inside you. It was just buried under fear, comparison, and old narratives that told you to play small. Now, every time you straighten your spine, every time you speak with clarity, every time you take up space without apology, you're reminding the world that you are no longer asking, you are declaring. You are showing up not to prove, but to be. And in that being, you radiate authority, grace, and force all at once. There will be moments when claiming your power feels uncomfortable. You'll be tempted to shrink back into safety. You'll feel the pull to make others comfortable at your expense. But real power means staying rooted even when others don't understand you. It means choosing alignment over acceptance. And when you do, you'll realize that your presence becomes louder than your words. You stop chasing opportunities because opportunities are drawn to your certainty. You stop explaining yourself because your energy becomes the explanation. And in that space, you discover a deeper kind of freedom, the freedom to show up fully, authentically, relentlessly. Power doesn't mean dominating others, it means mastering yourself. It's the inner knowing that says, I am enough. It's the external embodiment that says, I belong here. And it's the refusal to let insecurity write your story. When you claim your power, you become the strategist of your own life. Every move becomes intentional. Every word becomes rooted. Every room you walk into becomes brighter because you showed up in your fullness. You become the example. You become the inspiration. You become the reminder to everyone else that they too can rise. So don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't ask. This is your moment to claim what has always been yours. Stand tall. Speak clear. Move bold. Because the power was never out there, it was always you. Confidence isn't some magical feeling that suddenly appears when everything is perfect. It's not something that just shows up when life finally hands you the right moment, the right look, or the right opportunity. Confidence is a decision, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And it starts the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like you already are. You don't need to feel confident to stand tall, you just need to decide to do it. You don't need to silence every doubt to walk like you own the room. You just need to choose presence over perfection. Confidence isn't about the absence of fear, it's about the refusal to let fear make the decisions for you. There are days when self-doubt will sit heavy on your shoulders and you'll question everything. That's human. That's part of growth. But the key is what you choose to do in those moments. Confidence isn't built in easy seasons, it's forged in the fire. It's created when you show up anyway, speak up anyway, love yourself anyway. You get up, you straighten your spine, you adjust your crown, and you walk into the day like you mean it. Not because you feel flawless, but because you've made the decision that your worth doesn't depend on how loud your doubt is. Every time you choose yourself, you're building confidence. Every time you speak up when it would be easier to stay silent, you're building confidence. Every time you take a risk, show up messy, admit your truth, or set a boundary, you're stacking bricks into the foundation of your unshakable self-trust. Confidence is action, it's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And what most people don't understand is that it's okay if your hands shake while you act brave. It still counts, it still builds. You're not faking it, you're forming it. No one else can give you lasting confidence. Compliments are nice, support is powerful, but real sustainable confidence is self-generated. It comes from knowing you can count on yourself to rise, to learn, to try again. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes the most confident people are the ones who move quietly but with deep conviction. They don't need to announce it. Their energy does all the talking. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. In fact, perfectionism is often what holds confidence hostage. Confidence comes when you allow yourself to be fully seen, flaws and all, and still know you're worthy. It comes when you stop editing your truth to make others comfortable. It comes when you stop looking around for someone else to define who you are and you start choosing your own narrative. Confidence says, this is who I am, and I am enough. Not later, not someday, but now. So even on the days you feel unsure, act like you believe in yourself. Even when the doubt is loud, walk like the decision is made. Even when it's uncomfortable, hold your power pose, because the more you show up as if you trust yourself, the more that trust becomes real. Confidence isn't about pretending, it's about practicing. And every moment you choose to believe, you're writing a new story, one where you stop waiting to feel like enough and start living like you already are. Your presence is a language. It speaks long before your mouth opens. The way you walk into a room, the way you hold yourself, the energy that surrounds you, it all says something powerful. And when you understand that, you realize you don't have to constantly prove your worth with words. You just have to embody it. Presence is not about volume. It's not about being the loudest, flashiest, or most visible person. It's about being deeply rooted in who you are. It's about owning your energy so completely that people feel you without needing an introduction. When you walk in alignment with your truth, your presence commands attention effortlessly. There's a quiet confidence that radiates from someone who knows who they are. You can see it in the way they carry themselves. You can feel it in the way they take up space, not forcefully, but fully. They don't shrink to fit into rooms that weren't designed for their brilliance. They expand, they glow, they shift the atmosphere without needing to say, look at me. Because the truth is, presence isn't about performance, it's about embodiment. When you are anchored in your purpose, your presence does the heavy lifting. You don't hustle to be seen, you just are. This kind of presence is magnetic. It's the kind that draws people in, not because you're trying to impress them, but because they're curious about the calm power that surrounds you. It's the kind of presence that doesn't chase approval. It doesn't beg to be included. It doesn't over-explain. It simply is. And when you walk in that, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. Your presence becomes a mirror that reflects what's possible when you show up unapologetically whole. Sometimes the most strategic move you can make is to simply be still and rooted in your energy. No panic, no proving, just power in your stance, clarity in your gaze, and truth in your spirit. That kind of presence can't be faked. It can't be copied. It comes from doing the inner work, from healing the places where you used to feel small, from forgiving yourself for the times you stayed silent, from reclaiming the moments you felt invisible. And every time you show up now, you carry all of that healing with you. It's in your posture. It's in your energy. It's in your stillness. That's the language of presence. You don't need to walk into every room and perform to be respected. You don't need to dominate every conversation to be influential. Presence doesn't require you to talk over people. It asks you to be so grounded that others lean in just to understand your vibe. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you no longer negotiate it. It's about showing up as the fullest version of yourself and letting that be enough. Because it is. It always has been. You are not invisible. Even in your quietest moments, you are seen. You are felt. The world responds to how you show up, not just what you say. So straighten your spine, soften your jaw, take a deep breath and remember who you are. You don't need to speak loudly to take up space. You don't need to overshare to be understood. You just need to hold yourself like someone who knows their worth. Because when your presence is aligned with your truth, there's no need to convince anyone. They'll feel it, and they'll remember it. There is nothing more magnetic than authenticity. In a world that constantly tells you to fit in, shrink down, and play a role, the boldest move you can make is to be fully unapologetically yourself. That's your real power. Authenticity isn't a trend, it's your truth, and truth never goes out of style. You weren't made to copy someone else's script. You weren't born to walk in anyone else's shoes. You are the original. And when you own that, when you stop editing yourself to be more digestible, when you stop performing and start being, everything changes. You stop chasing validation and start radiating conviction. People are drawn to that kind of energy because it's rare, it's refreshing, it's real. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It means being honest. It means showing up as you are, even when you're still healing, still learning, still evolving. It means letting go of the pressure to constantly impress and instead choosing to express. You don't need to prove yourself when you're rooted in your own identity. You don't need to be polished to be powerful. You just need to be real. That's where your confidence lives. That's where your magic grows. That's where your presence starts turning heads without you having to try. When you embrace your authenticity, you begin to trust your own voice more than the noise around you. You start honoring your instincts, setting boundaries, speaking your truth even when it shakes. You stop diluting your light to keep others comfortable. You stop hiding your flaws as if they're something to be ashamed of. Your imperfections are not liabilities, they're layers of your humanity. And when you stand in your truth, you give others permission to do the same. You become a reminder that being yourself is not only enough, it's everything. You weren't meant to blend in. Your uniqueness is the exact reason you're needed. The way you think, the way you move, the way you feel, none of it is accidental. It's all part of your design. And your story? It's not too much. It's not too messy. It's not too loud. It's the proof of your resilience, the map of your growth, the melody of your soul. You don't need to erase the parts that feel different. You need to amplify them. That's your edge. That's your strategy. That's your power pose from the inside out. People can sense when you're faking it. They can feel the disconnect. But when you show up as the real you with all your fire, flaws, and finesse, something shifts. You become unforgettable. Not because you're trying to be, but because you're not trying to be anything other than who you truly are. That level of self-ownership, that's what makes people stop and pay attention. That's what opens doors. That's what attracts opportunities aligned with your soul. Authenticity is your armor. It protects you from losing yourself in comparison. It shields you from the pressure to keep up with every trend. It grounds you in who you are so you can rise without losing your roots. And no matter what the world throws your way, when you're anchored in authenticity, you don't bend to become someone else. You adjust your crown, you walk in truth, and you lead with presence, not performance. You don't have to be like anyone else to be powerful. You just have to be you fully, fiercely, and freely. That's the kind of energy that turns heads, breaks cycles, and builds legacies. You are not here to play a role. You are here to be the main character in your own story. And the moment you decide to be real instead of perfect is the moment you start winning on your own terms. Strength is often misunderstood. People associate it with being loud, being hard, being unmovable. But real strength is nuanced. Real power lives in softness. It's in the grace you show when you could react with fire. It's in the silence you choose when noise would only dilute your clarity. It's in the moments you walk away instead of proving a point. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. There's strategy in restraint. There's power in presence. And sometimes the most profound thing you can do is simply pause and breathe, holding your ground, not with force, but with focus. When you realize that softness and strength are not opposites, but allies, your entire energy shifts. You no longer have to armor up to feel powerful. You no longer have to prove your worth by overpowering others. You can be gentle and still be commanding. You can be kind and still have boundaries made of steel. You can be nurturing without sacrificing your standards. That's the balance that turns a woman into a force. That's the elegance of power, the kind that doesn't break down doors but opens them with grace. Silence, too, is deeply misunderstood. People are often afraid of silence. They think it means surrender. But silence is a weapon when wielded with intention. Silence can disarm. Silence can protect your peace. Silence can speak louder than any word ever could. When you stay silent not out of fear but out of self-control, you are standing in your highest power. You are choosing presence over panic. You are saying, I don't owe you a reaction, I choose my energy. This level of composure isn't easy. It takes self-awareness. It takes emotional intelligence. It takes the ability to not let the outside world rattle your inner calm. But once you master it, you become untouchable in the most beautiful way. You start moving different. You start commanding rooms without ever raising your voice. You start shifting dynamics simply by choosing where your energy goes. That is the mark of a true strategist. Someone who knows that every move, every word, every still moment is a choice. Softness allows you to connect with others on a deeper level. It gives you access to empathy, to intuition, to truth. It doesn't make you fragile. It makes you fluid. You're able to adapt, evolve, and flow through challenges without losing yourself. You're not easily manipulated because you're deeply rooted, and people feel that. They may not know how to explain it, but they feel it. You don't chase attention, you hold it. You don't fight to be heard. You speak when it matters, and people listen. There's also strategy in silence. When you're building, when you're healing, when you're evolving, you don't have to announce every move. Let your growth be your volume. Let your glow up be your statement. Let your transformation be felt, not flaunted. That's not hiding, that's protecting your process. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your evolution. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is fall back and focus. Softness is choosing to love yourself even when it feels easier to criticize. Silence is choosing to reflect instead of react. Strength is choosing to move with intention instead of impulse. When you start mastering these choices, you become the kind of presence that doesn't beg to be seen. You just are. Your softness becomes your signal. Your silence becomes your strategy. And your strength, it becomes undeniable. So don't ever believe you have to shout to be powerful. Don't ever believe you have to fight to be respected. You can be soft and strong. You can be quiet and unforgettable. And you can be still and unstoppable. That's the kind of power that doesn't need a stage. It builds empires. Your power pose is more than a physical stance. It's a spiritual declaration. It's your body saying what your soul already knows. You are worthy, you are enough, you are ready. When you stand tall with your shoulders back and your chin lifted, you're not just adjusting your posture, you're aligning with your purpose. You're telling the world, and more importantly, telling yourself that you refuse to shrink. You refuse to dim. You refuse to carry the weight of unworthiness another day. That pose becomes your armor, that stance becomes your mantra, that position becomes your promise to never fold under pressure. So often we forget that how we carry ourselves speaks volumes. We slump when we're insecure, we fold inward when we're doubting, we look down when we feel small. But when you choose to shift your posture, when you lift your head, plant your feet, and breathe into your power, you change your story. You're sending a message to your mind, to your emotions, and to the energy around you. I am here and I am not hiding. That decision to take up space is sacred. It's healing. It's revolutionary, especially in a world that constantly tells you to make yourself smaller. Your power pose isn't for show, it's for self. It's a commitment to honor your own presence. Every time you step into that stance, you are choosing self-respect over self-doubt. You are standing not just in confidence, but in compassion for yourself. Because claiming your space is not an act of ego, it's an act of love. You are telling your body, your inner child, your future self, we are no longer apologizing for existing. We are no longer bending to fit. We rise because we were born to. We stand because we're done shrinking. There's also something deeply healing about consistently embodying your worth. It changes the way you speak, the way you connect, the way you move through the world. You begin to realize that your value was never in question. It was your belief that needed to catch up. And when you integrate that belief into your body language, you create a new standard for yourself. You no longer accept less than you deserve. You no longer wait for someone else to tell you that you matter. You already know, and that knowing transforms everything. This kind of embodied worth doesn't come from a single moment. It's a practice. You do it when you walk into a room where you feel nervous. You do it when you speak up in a conversation that once would have silenced you. You do it when you hold your head high, even when the old voices of doubt try to creep in. It's not always easy, but each time you choose it, you're building a deeper relationship with your own power. You're proving to yourself that you can trust your strength, even when it feels uncomfortable. Eventually, it becomes natural. You'll walk differently, breathe differently, feel differently, because you've trained yourself to stand in truth, not fear. That's what the power pose really is. It's not just how you stand, it's who you've decided to be. It's a reflection of your inner evolution. And when people see it, they may not know exactly what shifted, but they'll feel it. Your energy will introduce you before you speak. Your presence will command respect before you demand it. This isn't about ego or performance, it's about embodiment. It's about remembering that you've always been enough, and now you're choosing to live like it. The way you stand becomes the way you lead. The way you carry yourself becomes the way you rise. And the way you honor your worth becomes the way the world reflects it back to you.